Okay, picture a city of the future. Gleaming skyscrapers, spotless streets, a total model of modern efficiency. Now, imagine that same city being brought to its knees every few years by an ancient enemy, one that's carried on the wings of a tiny insect. Well, that's the paradox of Singapore, where an invisible storm called dengue fever is raging, and it's getting stronger. So how did this happen? Well, it's a scientific detective story, and we're about to crack the case.
For decades, we really thought we had a handle on this fight. But lately, the outbreaks have become way more frequent, more explosive, and a lot less predictable. It's a real mystery. So the big question is, how is this old enemy outsmarting one of the most advanced cities in the world? Scientists knew it was time to finally crack the code.
All right, so our investigation is going to start right at the scene of the crime, the beautiful tropical city-state of Singapore. Now, Singapore has been fighting a war against the mosquitoes for decades, and for a long time, it was actually winning. They had these aggressive control measures that seriously cut down on mosquito breeding grounds. But here's the twist. As the population's overall immunity has gone down over the years, the disease has come roaring back with a vengeance. It's created this major public health crisis that's kind of hiding in plain sight. And if you want to see the scale of the problem, just look at this jump. Back in 2004, a peak week might see around 300 cases. Okay, now fast forward to 2022, and that number just skyrockets to over 1,500. This isn't just a small increase, it's an explosion. Something fundamental has clearly changed in this battle. So to figure out what was really going on, scientists had to line up the usual suspects. In the complex drama of dengue, there are always three main characters that take the stage. It's a pretty simple but deadly partnership. First, you have the mosquito, specifically the Aedes aegypti, and it acts as the courier. Its job is to pick up the package, which is the dengue virus, from someone who's already infected. And finally, you have the climate, which is basically the route planner. It creates the perfect conditions for that courier to deliver its package to the next victim. But the plot really thickens when we look closer at the package itself, because it's not just one virus, it's a whole family. You see, dengue isn't just one thing. It's more like a family of 4 distinct siblings, and we call them serotypes. So if you get infected with one, let's say DNV1, you get lifelong immunity. But here's the catch. It's only to that specific one. And this sets the stage for a really dangerous family feud. This is that family rivalry in action. So what happens is, when a new serotype takes over and becomes the boss, it creates a super high-risk period for about 2 years because almost no one is immune to it. After that, enough people get it that the population builds a sort of defensive wall against it. But then, years later, after that immunity fades, that same old serotype can come roaring back. It's just this constant, dangerous cycle. Okay, so armed with all this knowledge about the suspects, a team of scientists from Singapore and London started their investigation. They dug into 20 years of climate and disease data, looking for the hidden patterns that were driving these invisible storms. And what they found was that specific weather patterns are basically the trigger. This diagram shows how it works. You have weather elements like temperature and rainfall, and even these big climate events like El Niño. That's the periodic warming of the Pacific that messes with weather worldwide. All of this creates the perfect conditions for mosquitoes to breed. But, and this is so crucial, the effect isn't immediate. There's a delay, a lag time before those conditions actually lead to a spike in human infections. The first key clue they found was a temperature sweet spot. Right around 32 degrees Celsius, everything just accelerates. Mosquitoes breed like crazy, and the dengue virus incubates inside them way faster, turning them into super efficient transmitters of the disease. The second crucial clue was this number, 12 weeks. That's the average time lag between when those perfect climate conditions show up and when the dengue cases explode. And this delay, it's not a problem, it's an opportunity. It's a window of time where we can literally see the storm brewing before it hits. And that window is exactly what led to the big breakthrough, a predictive model that acts like a crystal ball, allowing health officials to see dengue outbreaks coming months in advance. And the difference this makes is just massive. Before, trying to predict dengue was like using an old farmer's almanac. You just followed the usual seasonal trends. It was basically a guess. But by bringing in real-time climate data, prediction transforms into a genuine warning system. You're not guessing anymore. You're actually seeing the future. And the results are, well, they're stunning. On this graph, That flat gray line is what a simple seasonal forecast looks like. Basically, a guess. The colorful line is the new model's prediction. Look at that. It almost perfectly tracks the actual outbreaks, catching the huge spikes in 2013, 2019, and that massive wave in 2022. It is incredibly accurate. It's truly the difference between guessing and knowing.
So let's break down that accuracy. If you start with just the basic seasonal patterns, you get a baseline. Fine. But then you add the climate data, and boom, accuracy jumps by 54%. Then, when you factor in that whole family feud, which serotype is currently dominant, you get a total improvement of 60% over the baseline. Every layer of data just makes that crystal ball clearer and clearer.
So what does this all mean in the real world? It means health officials can get a high-risk warning up to 2 months before an outbreak is expected to hit, with an incredible 94% accuracy in spotting those dangerous weeks. It's basically a weather app for dengue. And the potential impact is just staggering. The model ran a simulation. It asked, what if Singapore's mosquito control program had been guided by these predictions back in 2022? The result? They could have potentially slashed the number of cases by a jaw-dropping 77%. And this brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the whole puzzle. This discovery in Singapore isn't just about Singapore. It's a warning and it's a tool for the entire world. Because dengue is on the move, it's being driven by climate change and global travel, and this once regional disease has gone global. In just 50 years, the number of cases worldwide has multiplied by 30. Today, half of all people on Earth live in an area at risk. And that's why this model is so important. It's not some secret manual for just one city. It's a blueprint. It's a warning siren that can be adapted for any tropical city facing the same threat, from Brazil to India to Thailand, because at the end of the day, it's the same climate, the same mosquitoes, and the same virus at play everywhere. And this is why it matters so much. A 2-month head start completely transforms public health response from being reactive to being proactive. It gives authorities time to mobilize, to get out there and eliminate mosquito breeding grounds, to prepare hospitals, to get resources exactly where they're needed most. It means turning a potential disaster into a manageable event. Ultimately, what this story really shows us is the power of turning fear of the unknown into the foresight of prediction. By understanding this complex dance between our climate, viruses, and our own behavior, we can learn to see these invisible storms before they ever make landfall. And it really leaves you wondering, if we can build a crystal ball for dengue, what's next?